Live. Let's see if this works. Hello, good evening, everyone. It is 6:45. I'm a little bit late today, but I have very extenuating circumstances. So, greetings from Portugal. I'm in a place called Ericeira, which is a great beach on the west coast of Portugal, which is a great surfing beach. I'm on holiday. I had my first surfing lesson today. It was absolutely amazing. I loved it. So quite an unusual context for me to be doing my live today, but I thought, why not? It is, there's a bit of a lull in the day. I love talking to you every Monday and sharing all my content with you. Very important that I show up for you in case you are there and out there and ready to listen. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Caroline Flanagan. I am a coach. I've been trying on the expression, I am an imposter coach. I quite like the sound of it. So you might hear me describing myself in that way over the next week just to see if I like it. And that's because I'm really doubling down on imposter syndrome this year, as you've probably gathered. If you listen to me, follow me, watch me at all, you'll know that that's what I'm all about this year. Imposter syndrome is focusing on helping you to solve your imposter syndrome, not to get rid of it, not to conquer it, but to solve it so that you stop playing small and that you learn to use your imposter syndrome to help you fulfill more of your potential. Now, I'm aware I'm doing this live via Wi-Fi, so I hope that the Wi-Fi here at the surf camp is going to be kind to me. If it's a little bit laggy, do bear with me. It seems to be getting a little bit better. So welcome to this week's broadcast, this week's session on imposter syndrome, and in particular on the word imposter. So if you are watching this on Facebook, you'll see the question I'm going to address today is why you should call yourself an imposter. Now, what I want you to take away from today's session is that you should be not only calling yourself an imposter, but you should be proud to do so. So that's what I want to convince you of today, why you should do that, why you should call yourself an imposter, and also how. So I'm going to be sharing those two things with you. Now, the context and the reason for tackling this particular topic today is because I've recently started one of my imposter speech coaching program cohorts, and there's a group of about 12 of them, and one of the first questions, the most common question that I come up with is, why is this an imposter program? I'm not an imposter. Why would I want to identify myself as such, call myself an imposter? And it's a question I love because it gives me a chance to explain the real value behind this session, behind this work that I'm doing and that I'm bringing to you. So that's one of the questions I'm going to be answering today. Why would you even want to call yourself an imposter? It's logical, isn't it? It's normal and expected that you would hear a word like imposter associated, of course, with imposter syndrome and feel really hesitant about identifying yourself in that way. Feel a bit sensitive, maybe, a bit defensive about being called an imposter. I'm going to let you into a little secret. One of my missions really is to create such value around the imposter syndrome work that I do that by the end of it, like I want as an objective for my imposter speech coaching programs, for you to come out of that feeling proud to call yourself an imposter. I want to build a community of proud imposters. And by the time I get to the end of this session, you are going to understand why. Now, I have to admit, I felt exactly the same as some of my coaching clients. Maybe you feel this too. Maybe your instinctive reaction is to think, I'm not an imposter. I wouldn't want to call myself that. If anything, I want to get away from my imposter syndrome, not identify with it. So it's totally normal and to be expected. And I used to feel that way. Whenever my imposter syndrome was triggered, all I could think about was how horrible it made me feel. I associate imposter syndrome with those negative feelings, like the stress of trying to kind of perform and prove I was good enough, and the perfectionism that was so exhausting, but also that just constant anxiety, the fear of being found out, the feeling that you were a fraud. And it wasn't just internal, right? So if you, like me, were a member of a minority group, it wasn't just the self-doubt going on inside of you. It was also that external environment that often made you feel like an imposter because it wasn't very inclusive, or because what was the norm for everybody else, or how they got to have the job that they had, or that their type of culture, what was the norm for them was not the norm for you. So that feeling of being excluded that you associate with imposter syndrome, it's what I talk about in Be the First, those two battles, the internal one and also the external one. Well, it doesn't exactly give imposter syndrome a great reputation. It's not something very warm and cuddly we want to wrap ourselves up with and identify with. So if those are your feelings, if for you, imposter syndrome is this huge negative that is like the bane of your life, you feel like you need to get rid of it before you can be confident in order to feel better in your work and in your life, then I hear you. That used to be me. And perhaps you do what I used to do, which was to try and find all of these different, try all these different methods to try and fix it and to try and solve it and get rid of it. So I would, for example, sometimes I try to remind myself of all my achievements and try and use that as kind of proof that I deserve to be there. I don't know if that resonates with any of you. Another thing I might do is obviously share my imposter feelings with other people if I was, those close to me who knew me really well. And inevitably they would try and help and support me by telling me that I could do it. I'm always, you always manage to do it. You'll be fine. The typical kind of advice that you get from those you love, but which doesn't really help at all. If anything, it often puts you under more pressure, that idea. What feels like an expectation, doesn't it, from your friends and loved ones that, you're going to achieve the way, they expect you to, or the way you always have. So it often doesn't make you feel better. Other things I tried were, for example, fake it till you make it. Have you tried that one? I actually did use that quite effectively a number of times throughout my career, especially when I was working at Nova in the law firm. And I would kind of brace myself and try and fake like the confidence to show up to whatever the meeting was or whatever the talk was I had to do. The problem with all of those solutions, all of those tips and tricks is what I call them, is that they address the symptoms of imposter syndrome. They are designed to alleviate the stress and the anxiety so that you can then perform that next task, right? And ideally do it really well. But the problem, as you'll know, with addressing only symptoms is that the underlying cause remains the same. So that's why, of course, you keep finding yourself, no matter how much you achieve, you keep finding yourself back where you started, feeling like the fraud, feeling excluded, for example, in your environment, not feeling at ease, still feeling that stress, that anxiety when you need to step up to the next task. So all those tips, all the tricks, they're all very well and good, but they're so short term, they're so temporary in their effect, if they work at all, that it's not an effective solution. And that was my situation, where I actually got exhausted, tired of always trying to fix my imposter syndrome and it never working. So that was me then, playing small, feeling stressed, anxious, trying to run away from my imposter syndrome, avoid opportunities so I could avoid this horrible feeling and this horrible experience, and wanting desperately to get away from that, what felt like a really negative thing. And now here I am. I am fiercely proud to call myself an imposter. If you've read my book, Be the First, if you haven't, why haven't you read it? There's so many gems in there. I did small diversion. I did a book reading actually last week where I read some select chapters from the book. It was for the BWIL, Black Women in Leadership, a new network that has started up. And it was such a pleasure to do a book reading and read some of the really key chapters in that, I got quite emotional. So one of the bits I read talked about being proud to be an imposter, talked about my imposter journey from that place where I said of just like trying to treat the symptoms and then finding that, guess what, they didn't work in the long term. They didn't transform anything for me. I was always back where I was, feeling stressed and playing small, to where I am now, fiercely proud to call myself an imposter. Now, how does that happen? Well, before I get into that, well, what does it mean, right? For me, when I call myself an imposter, for me, it is reconnecting me with who I am on the inside, with all of the reasons why, because there are so many, I am not like everybody else in the room. The reasons why I am unique, the reasons why I'm valuable, the reasons why I'm capable of creating whatever results I want. That's when I say I'm an imposter, that's what my brain hears. It energizes me, it empowers me. I've written down here because I wanted to get the words exactly right in terms of what it does for me. I say that it's the engine that powers me, sustains me, and drives me. I love that. It's also like an anchor. So when there's all the turbulence around me, and that turbulence could be just in the world, as we've had the last couple of years, but very specifically, just lots going on with work, maybe some stuff going on in my personal life, something doesn't go to plan. I get some negative feedback, for example, or I just have a day where I'm feeling quite small. That pride in calling myself, in seeing myself, believing myself to be an imposter, and what that says about who I am is what keeps me so grounded. It means anything can be happening around me, I still know who I am. The integrity of my identity is never changed, no matter what. And the other thing I like to talk about is it's being like roots, right? The roots of a tree is another wonderful analogy. Like I always come back to kind of where my sort of core, think about a tree, the core trunk and the roots that ground it. It means that whenever things are a little bit too much, or I'm not really sure where I am, or I need to make a decision even, I come back to the center. I come back to the core of who I am, and it's like a reset button. I can then go out and tackle whatever the challenge is ahead of me. So how did I get to the position where I'm so fiercely proud to call myself an imposter? Why would I even do that? So I want to talk about why it's so powerful, why I want you to do it. And the reason is because what it requires of you in order for you to say, I am an imposter, is so incredibly powerful that if you're able to do that, and it creates only energy and drive and positive and confidence in you, in order for you to get to that place, you have to know and have the truth of who you are and really understand that you are unique, you're valuable, and that you're capable of creating results. Because let's face it, as we said at the beginning, the word imposter seems negative. Imposter syndrome seems negative. So in order for you to come do a complete 180 and see yourself as an imposter and that be empowering, it's going to require a journey on your part. It's going to require you to understand your imposter syndrome, why it's there, where it comes from. You're going to have to need to do the work and find the power and the energy of the cause of your imposter syndrome. And only by doing that work can you come out the other side saying, oh my God, I'm an imposter, and that energize and empower you. So what I've written here is that calling yourself an imposter requires a quality of relationship with yourself, that is built on the truth of who you are and is grounded in the belief that you are unique, that you are valuable, and that you are capable of creating results. I want you to think about that for a minute. So I've brushed over it really quickly. How unique do you believe, do you know yourself to be? How valuable do you believe yourself to be? If I had to ask you on a scale of 0 to 10 how valuable you thought you were, what would your score be? I want you to think about that right now. And I know, like, at different times, different days, your score might change, actually. Mine today, it helps that I'm here talking to you. I'm so energized, always talking on this topic. How valuable I think I am? It's a 9. So I went out, as I've said, I'm on this surfing camp. I went out surfing today. First time I've ever surfed. I'm in the sea, completely out of my comfort zone. I'm afraid of the sea. It's the Atlantic, so it's absolutely freezing. I don't like being cold. I'm wearing a wetsuit, however. I go out into the sea and I am so excited and energized by the challenge, by being out of my comfort zone. Why? Because I absolutely believe in the truth of who I am. And I have absolute confidence and belief in the fact that I am unique and valuable and that I can create results. So questions to leave you with, don't go away yet because I haven't finished, but questions for you to continue thinking after this session. How unique do I honestly believe myself to be? How valuable do I genuinely believe myself to be? And do I think that I can create whatever results in my life that I want? And I mean that regardless of what's going on around you, regardless of all the things you think you would like to change or you wish were different, or the feelings and things that might be going on in your life right now. Do you feel 100% confident and able to create results in your life? Now, if you can get to a place where you can proudly say, I am an imposter, that means you're able to do all of those things. Let me put it another way. When you're able to be sure of the truth of who you are and have 100% belief in your value, how unique you are, and your ability to create results, then you will be able to talk about yourself as an imposter with such great pride and energy and passion, the way I do, because the work you've done on the relationship with yourself will enable you to do that. And what happens when, why would you even bother? What's the beauty of calling yourself an imposter? It means that no matter what's going on, that whatever your next task is, whatever is on your mind at the moment, it might be just a decision that you need to make. You show up from the place of being an imposter, or showing up with absolute confidence that you are unique, you're valuable, and that you can create results. Can you imagine how differently you will feel and behave if you show up to whatever it is, the current challenge or the current obstacle, the current decision you have to make? Can you imagine how differently you will behave and react, the decisions you will make, the results you will create if you show up as a proud imposter, with that relationship with yourself so concrete, so sure, you feel you can take on the world and you get to work. This is not about just sitting there and saying I'm an imposter and expecting results. It's then knowing you can tap into all those resources that I talk about: resourcefulness, resilience, commitment, courage. When you believe you can create results for yourself, you can tap into all of those things in any given moment, and that's how you get results. That's why it's so powerful to call yourself an imposter. It means you've got your own back. You believe in yourself. You believe and know yourself to be valuable, to be unique, and and you're not going to stop until you create those results that you want. So that's the challenge I want to leave with you. I want you to look in the mirror and say out loud, I am an imposter. And I want you to think about what that brings up for you. Does it make you feel seriously uncomfortable? Does it make you nervous, anxious, stressed? Do you feel defensive or resistant, thinking this is nonsense? I don't want to feel like an imposter. I want to fit in. be aware of what that expression brings up for you, because that is the absolute clue to why you need to do this work. If your answer to the discomfort of, I don't want to call myself an imposter, is because you want to feel you fit in, that you're kind of like everybody else, that you're included. Wow, you could do that, but what a missed opportunity. Why would you choose to ignore the fact that you are so unique? Why would you choose to step right past your value and just keep going as if you didn't have half the value that you actually have? Why would you choose that? To me, it's like walking down the road and you see a pot of gold on the side of the road. Why? With your name on it, right? It's a pot of gold with your name on it. Why would you choose to just walk past that and continue on in your life without the help of your value, this pot of gold? Yeah. So you could carry on thinking imposter syndrome is something you'd rather be without, thinking it's something negative, something bad, thinking it's something you could fix. You can do that. That's totally your choice and optional. But I'm here to offer you a different choice, a different option. I want to offer you that imposter syndrome. It's just a puzzle you need to solve. It's not a problem you should fix. Solve the puzzle. It's just a puzzle of who you are. And if you can get to the point where you understand your imposter syndrome so well that it is really the key, the secret to who you are, when you've got that understanding, then you are able to own, claim, and proudly declare yourself an imposter and know that that represents your uniqueness, your value, your ability to create results. I'm super excited about this work. And of course, how you do that is what I'm here to help you do. I created, remember, the imposter speech, the powerful, portable, personal statement that is your ability to basically slip into the energy of who you are, of that value, of that uniqueness, of that ability to create results. That's what your imposter speech is designed to do. And that's what I'm here to help you do, help you create in your life, so that you stop playing small. Enough of the playing small. It's time you started to really fulfill your potential, but not just by trying to fake it and do all the confidence tricks. No, by doing the work around who you are, by finding out what it is about you that makes you an imposter, that makes you, in other words, unique and valuable, and then going to work and creating results for yourself. Thank you so much for listening. I'm in this room in the surf camp, and it's super, super boiling. So I can feel myself heating up as I get more and more excited. Very passionate about this topic. Have a think about it. Call yourself an imposter and just try to think about, what does that throw up for you? What's the resistance? That's where you need to go. Go to what is uncomfortable about that name for you, and it will give you the sign or the indication, the direction you need to go in to do the work on yourself until you can get to a point where you can talk and describe yourself as an imposter proudly. I'm Caroline Flanagan. I'm just being joined by a few other people in the co-working space, so it's perfect timing to wrap this up. Thank you so much for your time today. Any thoughts, any comments? I want to hear what you think about this idea of calling yourself an imposter. Are you ready to come on this journey with me and start describing yourself in that way? I'm Caroline Flanagan. Please join, if you haven't already, the Facebook group. It's called the Imposter Speech, Imposter Syndrome Facebook group. It would be amazing to have you. Otherwise, you can sign up to my newsletter on carolineflanagan.com /join. I think it's the right one, but you'll find it on my website anyway. Great speaking to you. I'm going to go and have some dinner, and then I'm going to be up nice and early surfing again tomorrow. Look out for my pictures on Instagram and Facebook. Take care. See you soon. Bye.